Good morning. It's Bernard Nomberg with another episode of NOMBERG Law Live, and I got Marty the dog here with Dr. Andy Sokol we're at Caldwell Mill Animal Clinic. We appreciate you guys spending a few minutes with it. As you know, every Tuesday at 10 o'clock we come to you with different folks in the community, such as Andy here. Andy's a longtime friend of mine. He has just been voted AL.com and Birmingham Magazine top vet in the city of Birmingham, and that's awesome. Andy, congratulations for that. Very happy to be here with our bud Marty, and we're going to talk about pet safety. We're going to talk about pets. Sorry about your hair there, Marty. We're going to talk about those things that pet owners either know, don't know, should know, and need to know. And we're going to get it right here from one of the very best in town. Andy, good morning and welcome.
Hello. Hello. Bernard, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. And what can we do to share with the community of animal needs and fun stories? But you brought up something that I want to allude to. I'm very humble. I'm very proud of being voted Birmingham's top veterinarian as through Birmingham Magazine and AL.com. That's not an individual award. Sure. I could not do it with the team that I work with, the group of veterinarians, receptionists, technicians, and kennel staff. I'm blessed to have a clientele that reaches out and that voted, as well as the exposure I get. So it's not an individual award, it's a team award. I'm very proud to be part of Caldwell Mill Animal Clinic's team.
Well, certainly, and I'm not surprised to hear that from you, Andy. And you fun things that you don't know about Andy is, and I want Andy to be able to tell you what he did in college. The good part, the part that we can share with you. I know you have a love of pets. I know you have a love of animals, and you kind of went that way a little bit when you were at Auburn. So tell everybody what you got to do on Saturdays.
I was 8 years at Auburn, 4 years of undergrad and 4 years of veterinary school, and for 2 years I was Albie, Auburn's mascot, the lovable, adorable embodiment of the Auburn spirit, Albie. I did that from 1987 to 88. The 2 years Pat and I took us to the Sugar Bowl, which is a lot of fun. The girls basketball team, Joe Champy, took us to the Final Four in Tacoma, Washington. Wow. And just such a great experience. If I could have made a living being a mascot, I would have stuck with it. So I went from the inside of the suit to taking care of the animals.
Sure.
And so Albie is the 9-time national champion mascot of the year and part of the Mascot Hall of Fame.
Very good. Well, Andy, even before those days, before your Auburn days, hey, Marty, I know I'm here, buddy. Tell us what started your love of pets and animals that eventually led you to where we are here today?
Sure. Julius and Heidi Bloomson remind me of this story often, that kids, when they grow up, what do you want to be? I want to be a fireman. I want to be a policeman. I said from the start, I want to be a dog doctor. And so I always said I wanted to be the dog doctor. And my dad said, well, if you're going to be a dog doctor, you're going to have to go to Auburn. And my family was an Alabama family. They still are. They raised me as an Alabama person until I was about 4 years old. And my dad goes, well, if you're going to go to be a dog doctor, you're going to have to go to Auburn. I said, okay. And for right there, I switched channels and became an Auburn fan. And just knew I always wanted to do it. Didn't know how to always make it. Took care of my animals as a child. Helped my parents with that. Always went to the veterinarian office when my dogs went to the vet. And then when I was 16, I got a job with Dr. Kent on the south side. If you're from Birmingham, he was known as Hoss Kent. And he raised me in this and allowed me to what they call cut the teeth, cut my teeth in the veterinary field. And so then I went on to Auburn, and I always worked for veterinarians. I always tell Peter Velotis, who now is a veterinarian, I told him every veterinarian starts off scoop and poop.
That's right.
And that's what we do, is we clean cages, but you're learning a lot. And I'm about to have my 25th class reunion.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That makes us old.
It is. For those of you just joining us or just tuning in, we're with Dr. Andy Sokol, the Caldwell Mill Animal Clinic, and we also have our buddy here, Marty. We're talking about, or about to start talking about, pet safety and techniques, common sense, things you should be doing this time of the year. The weather is just so brutally hot. Unfortunately, this past week there was some tragic news we saw that a pet had been left in a car and ultimately succumbed to the heat. So Andy, let's talk about these things. Let's talk about, you're in the South, it's 100 degrees with the humidity. I know we're getting lots of rain, but that still doesn't take away how hot it can be inside the cars. Share with us a little bit of techniques, things that you recommend to your patients and to their families about how to take care of your pets in the heat.
You have to be pet aware when you have a pet in the weather. From thunderstorms, because Marty's scared of storms, but the heat. The dogs cannot sweat. You and I as a human, when we get hot, we start sweating. And the heat goes from our body to the moisture, and the moisture evaporates, taking the heat away. Dogs don't have that ability. They lose their heat through panting and their paw pads. So a little bit of heat can be a lot to them. So you have to be very much weather aware. And when it's a humid time, like we're going through now, dogs can't expel that heat through panting quick enough. So you've got to be sure they've got plenty of shade, they're not in the heat, they've got fans, and don't ever leave them in your car during this time of year. Even a cracked window is not going to do anything. If you're going to leave them in the car, you better have your car running with the air conditioning running and make sure you don't run out of gas. But you just have to be weather aware. Things to be aware of besides just the heat in the environment is the cement. The pavements get very, very hot. So if you're going to walk your dog on pavement, do it in the morning, because by the end of the day, the pavement is hot, hot, hot. And if you do use the analogy of when you go to the beach, when you take a first few steps on the sand, it's not hot. But by the time you work your way all the way to the water, your feet's like, whoa, it's hot. It's not because the sand is hotter, it's because you are exposing your feet each step. So when you start a dog on a walk on hot pavement, they're not going to acknowledge it's hot. But by the time you're a half a block down the road, their pads can be taking the blunt of the heat. So you may want to be sure they walk on grass. But again, better off walk them in the mornings during this time of year.
It's just like for me, if I'm going to go for my walks, I'm either going to do it very early in the morning or very late in the afternoon, right before dark, and even then it's still very, very hot. Andy, talk to us about pet owners, and I know when you take the responsibility of having a pet, you really take on a real responsibility, because it's another life that you're responsible for. So folks who go to work and they leave their dogs or their pets outside all day during this time of the year, what's going on? What are they exposing themselves to potentially?
Number one, if a dog has to be outside, or if it's a dog in their environment he's an outdoor dog, in this type of heat, you've got to have some sort of shade. You've got to have a place where they can get out of the direct heat of the heat. And someplace they can bed down to make a cool spot, mulch, grass, areas that can be cool. The other thing is water, plenty of water. And if you put a bowl of water out in the sun right now, in 45 minutes, it's going to be too hot for them to drink. So be sure their water is in the shade, as well as be sure you can recycle the water during the day, because that water is going to get hot and they're not going to want to drink it or be able to drink it if it gets hot.
Well, we've got Marty here, and we're talking about summer pet safety with Dr. Andy Sokol. If you guys have any questions or concerns or questions that you've got for Andy about pet safety, just put them in the comment section. Hey, Ellis, good to see you, sweetheart. Hope you're doing well this morning. That's my niece, Ellis, watching in. And when we finish here,
hello, Ellis.
Marty says hello, Ellis, and we're going to put in the comment section how to get in touch with Dr. Sokol here at Caldwell Mill Animal Clinic. Andy, let's kind of shift a little bit. Let's say we've got pets, dogs, cats that are used to being indoors all year round.
Oh, good question.
And they don't, at least from my experience, my dogs, we have 2 rescue dogs, they don't naturally shed their fur or their hair. We have to do it for them or help them along the way. Let's talk a little bit about that if you can.
Well, you bring up a good point, because if you have a dog that's indoors most of the time, and then suddenly you start throwing them outside during the summer, their body is not acclimated to the temperature change. So as the spring goes on, you want them to start spending more and more time as it starts to get hotter, and they get used to that heat. And once their body starts recognizing the change in the temperature, their clock also notices the days getting longer, they will start blowing their winter coat. They will start shedding more, and whether that hair that acts as insulation during the winter will start to fall off. And you, as an owner, can help that in the sense of brushing them very consistently. You will pull out their hair and giving them baths. And the bath is a great way for all the loose hairs to wash down the drain. So using some coat care, bathing and brushing as the seasons change will help with that.
Sure. Well, I can tell you, at least for one of our dogs, Sophie, who's a mixed breed, it's a never-ending process with trying to comb her out every day.
Yep.
It's like, where does the more come from? Alyssa, good morning. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. We're talking with Andy Sokol and Marty here about pet safety in the summertime and how to properly maintain and take care of your pets. Andy, what if I don't own a pet, but I want to get into the market? I want to now own a pet. Where do you guys recommend that we go look for dogs, cats, whatever?
Well, first off, you need to figure out what type of pet is best for your living environment, best type of pet for the living environment. Because sometimes you don't need a dog. Sometimes you need a visual pet, such as a fish or a guinea pig or a hamster. And sometimes a cat is better for your living environment. And then if you want a dog, you have to decide on what best dog. Is it a dog that's going to be indoors, a dog that's going to be outdoor, indoor, outdoor, small, medium, or large? So you have to assess your living environment and living quarters for what best suits your dog or your pet request. Most commonly, people are looking for dogs or cats. And unless you have a specific breed that you insist on having, I'd say contact the shelters. Here in Birmingham, you have the Greater Birmingham Humane Society. You have the Shelby County Humane Society. They all have websites, and they have their dogs listed and cats pictures up on the website. So you can start browsing them before you make a trip down there. But those are dogs that, and any rescue organization, they're animals that need a home. And you can find great dogs that way. I got my husky mix, Cody. He's too big for the camera in here. But I got him from the Greater Birmingham Humane Society. Marty, he's an interesting story. Marty has a buddy named Dooley, who's an Alabama Brown Dog Terrier also. But before I got Marty, the owner of Dooley knew I wanted an Alabama Brown Dog Terrier. And up on Facebook, a group posted Marty that he was looking for a home. Why? He was from Gardendale, Alabama. He was raised in a trailer park. And the family that owned Marty got evicted and got thrown out of the trailer park. And Marty was left behind.
Oh, no.
And so one of the tenants in the trailer park put up on Facebook that said, hey, if someone doesn't claim this dog, we're going to turn him over to animal shelter. And Molly, our groomer, saw him posted. So I was walking to work at 6:30 one morning. She was walking out. And I said, where are you going so early? She goes, to get your new dog. And she went up to Gardendale and brought Marty. And he didn't have his name at that point. And he obviously had a long life of living outdoors. His paws were real rough. He lived on concrete. He was not neutered. I'm sure there's some baby Alabama Brown Dog Terriers in Gardendale that look similar to him. But brought him home, neutered him, gave him a name, and he fits like a glove.
Was it intentional to leave the hair long
Yep,
in the back?
that's exactly.
Nice.
The other dog we're talking about, the Alabama Brown Dog Terrier, Dooley Mosley, he has a Facebook page. They leave this to have what you would call a mohawk. We call it a doo-hawk for Dooley.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, welcome for those of you just tuning in. Hey, Miriam, good morning. We're talking with Dr. Andy Sokol here with Marty. We're talking about pet safety in the summer and overall pet safety. Andy, let's talk about transportation with your pets. People love to take their pets wherever they go, shopping, wherever it may be, trips. Talk to us a little bit about pet safety and travel.
Well, let's talk about dogs. That's the more common, because I can summarize cats in a heartbeat. When you're traveling with a cat, put them in a carrier, put them in a carrier, put them in a carrier. Dogs, they just have to get acclimated to ride in a car, and you start with them young, just short trips where they get used to it and they get over the car sickness. And be sure they know how to ride in a car. You don't want them in your lap. You only want them in the front seat if they'll stay riding shotgun and not bothering you. In the back seat is a safer place for them. There are harnesses and seat belts for dogs. Marty doesn't use a seat belt because he gets in the back seat and just lays down. And then Cody, my husky, who's 80 pounds, he gets in the way back where I have a dog bed. So you're just using safety tips for them to where they're comfortable, they're not interfering with the transportation, and they travel as well as they get used to.
It drives me crazy sometimes when I see people driving and they have their dog perched to their
Nope.
left, sitting on that window, on the door sill, just looking out. That cannot be safe at all.
Well, you're an attorney. Is that against the law?
I haven't looked up the laws, but I should, and I'll probably post it here in the comments section. But it ought to be against the law, but it's not.
2 places a dog does not need to be when you're driving. Number 1 is in your lap, hanging out the window. Number 2 is in the back of a truck. It gripes me to pass a pickup truck, and they have a dog in the back of the cab. Now, worse than that is if they have a leash attached to it, because if the dog gets bounced out, he's attached, and then you're dragging him. Put a dog in a carrier if he's in the back of your truck, or put him in the cab of the truck.
Guys, thank you for tuning in with us. Hey, Martin, good morning. We're talking with Dr. Andy Sokol, and we got Marty here. We're talking about pet safety in the summertime and overall pet care and pet responsibilities. Speaking of responsibilities, Andy, let's talk about how often we'll just take dogs. How often as a dog owner should I be bringing my dog in to have checkups and medicines and so forth?
Sure. First off, every year they need to go in there for the annual vaccinations and physical exam. It's not just the shots. There's things that could be going on with your dog that you don't recognize. And the veterinarian is going to do a physical exam and look for problems, look for things that need to be addressed. Kind of like when you go for your annual physical. Realize 1 year of Marty is 7 years to us. It's like us only going to the doctor every 7 years. So you definitely want to take them in once a year, physical exam, get them caught up in their vaccinations. Rabies is required by law in the state of Alabama. We're having a breakout of rabies in raccoons and other animals that are approaching living situations, so be sure they're current on their rabies. Some veterinarians, including us, we do a semi-annual visit every 6 months, and that's a way for us to give another evaluation. And certain dogs have certain vaccines that certain diseases they're exposed to. Marty doesn't swim in a lake, doesn't swim in a pond, but if he was a dog that swam in a lake or pond, he would be exposed to leptospirosis, which there's a vaccine for. So at our semi-annual, we tailor the vaccinations to the dog's risks.
Okay, well, that's all great information, Andy. Let's talk about another area that none of us really want to talk about, and that's dogs who may have a propensity for some violence, either against other dogs or animals they come across, or heaven forbid they bite somebody.
Right.
Once that occurs, once a dog has known to bite somebody who comes onto the property, do you guys have any recommendations for the pet owner what they should be doing in response? And what I mean by that is, should I then bring my dog in and have the dog evaluated, looked at by the vet to see if there's anything that's changed with the dog?
Right, and if a dog suddenly becomes aggressive, you need to, number one, make sure it's not a physical issue, a health issue, and a veterinarian evaluation can do that. The other is consultation with a trainer. We at Caldwell Mill Animal Clinic, we have a trainer on site to help with a variety of training issues, and one of them can be dogs that become aggressive. Because when a dog is aggressive, there's always a trigger. It may be instinctive to them, it may be something that upset them, it may be another dog that upset them, it could be food aggression. So there's always a trigger when a dog becomes aggressive, and you need to acknowledge that, and you need to be aware of that so you are there to prevent it from getting out of hand. And some of this can be fixed through training.
It just sounds like just being a pet owner takes a lot of responsibilities.
It is. Being a pet owner, if you don't want any responsibilities, get a fish, because all you got to do is feed them. But for a dog, and as soon as a puppy comes in at 6 weeks of age, we start talking about some basic training to get their brain to be thinking, what does mom and dad want me to do, as opposed to what does puppy want to do? And their training starts as early as 6 weeks of age. And you think about back when you were in preschool, kindergarten, they're starting your brain to think, to learn. And that's the same principle in dogs. We start them thinking at an early age, and therefore when they break the rules, if they are going to snap at a young age, if they're going to become aggressive, you can train that out of them a lot easier at a younger age.
All great information, Andy. We appreciate you spending some time with us on NOMBERG Law Live. Guys, if you have any questions or comments for Andy, just throw them in the comments section either now or if you watch this later on. We'll make sure Andy gets the questions and be able to answer. We'll also put all of Andy's contact information for here at the clinic. We appreciate you spending some time with us, Andy. This has been so informative and great information.
A lot of fun. Love the NOMBERG Live on a regular basis.
Well, thank you.
I'm honored you called me to participate.
Well, no, this is, you were one of the ones I've been trying to get to for a few months. But guys, thank you. This will conclude today's interview. I'm with Marty, with Dr. Andy Sokol here at Caldwell Mill Animal Clinic. We'll be back again next Tuesday at 10 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock